Jesus Christ, your name be lifted high. In this moment, in your presence, overwhelmed by love, we come alive. We cry, holy, King of glory, Jesus Christ, your name be lifted high. In this moment, in your presence, overwhelmed by love, we come alive. We cry, holy, King of glory, and Jesus Christ, your name be lifted high. Come and lift your voice at the throne of grace. We come alive. Let the lost rejoice. Jesus Christ, his arms are open wide. Let these mountains shake from the sound of voices multiplied. As our souls awake, and Jesus Christ, his arms are open people come together. Come on, you sing. Strangers near. Children of generations of every nation.
Check one, check two. So everybody had a good lunch? Good stuff, right? You're just in time to hear about cattle mutilations. Aren't you fortunate? As I said earlier, this is the darkest film I've ever worked on. There's no happy ending here. You won't get a happy ending. I'm sorry. It is a deep dive into Hell's Kitchen, in my opinion. Our mission statement is to expose the deception of the prince of the power of the air and the herald of the return of the King Jesus. I knew about cattle mutilations years ago, and you'll hear that story with Linda Muttin Howe. She had an award-winning film, Strange Harvest. And I remember watching that, and I could only watch it for maybe 10 minutes, 5 minutes at a time. It was that disturbing. Well, brace yourself. You know, let me just pray. Father, in Jesus' name, we come before you. And I realize this is, we're going to go places here that are not for the faint of heart. And this stuff is disturbing, and I get that. But when you took Ezekiel into the temple and you showed him the detestable things that were going on there, I'm sure Ezekiel didn't sign up for it. So what we're doing here, Lord, is we're arming your people to show the machinations of the evil one. Touch your people, Strengthen our hearts. We look to you, Lord. We can't wait till you come back. I wish it was yesterday, but you have your timing. Bless us, watch over us, give us clarity of mind, sense of purpose, and definitely no fear. In Jesus' name, amen. So there's Karen's book. There's some of the UFO films, lots of books to see. There's our mission statement to expose. It's always good to say this again. What we're going to do this afternoon is expose what we've been doing the whole time, but this is sort of a deep dive on it, and it ties into the abduction phenomena, where people were taken against their will. Sperm is taken from the men, ovum is taken from the women. Women find themselves pregnant. The baby then is taken at the 3rd month of pregnancy. And they'll go into, as Karen said, they'll go in and no heartbeat, no fetal tissue, D&C, nothing. Are you sure you were pregnant? Where does the baby go? Okay? Why are they doing this? If we don't understand Genesis 3:15, when we come to this, we're ill-equipped to deal with it. But the moment we plug in the Genesis 3:15 scenario, equation, into what is happening, everything makes perfect sense. It's a seed war. And it's like the days of Noah. I mean, Jesus warns us. But if you don't have Genesis 3:15 right and you get to the days of Noah, it's just the ungodly line of Seth marrying the ungodly hoochie mamas of Cain. But that's not what the Bible says. Last time I checked, hoochie mama was not in there. This is the latest on the On the Trail of the Nephilim series, Out of Place Artifacts. And I'm not going to show that. Do I have the right presentation?
Roman Lee.
Hold on. Let me just see where we are here. Okay, good. Why is that slide in there? Peggy? Just joking. I have to make this statement because there are some people that run around saying, Ellie believes in life on other worlds. He believes in that these are aliens. Statement. I do not believe in the plurality of worlds. The UFO phenomenon with all its complexity is, in my opinion, the handiwork of, drumroll please, fallen angels. In other words, these intruders are what I have come to call the major players in the coming great deception. Or as 2 Thessalonians tells us, this is the strong delusion sent to mankind. Why? Because they did not believe the truth. What is the truth? That Jesus spoke everything into existence and everything was made by him. End of story. What do we believe? Not you. But what does our country teach our children? The Darwinian paradigm. Seriously? Seriously. This is where we are? You're really forcing this down. This is why you got to get your kids out of the public schools and your grandkids. Just got to do it. We have a 3-year-old granddaughter. It's our only grandchild that we have. There's no way that kid's going into a public school. Absolutely no way. And even a Christian, we'll probably homeschool her. We won't, but we'll help do that. But her parents will do it, and we're right alongside them, whatever it takes. You don't learn anything anyway there. I mean, I went through the system. You hear about Columbus discovering America every year. It's like, what? And then you get out and you start looking at the out-of-place artifacts. Oh, here's a rabbit trail. Here we go. And you realize that, I've been lied to. There's a hidden history that's been deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world, and that's why I am on the trail of the Nephilim. They were here. There were giants all around Florida. They were running around. There's a place called Tick Island in Florida, okay? I have testimonies. It's in our very first On the Trail of the Nephilim series film. This guy's a kid. He's like 10, 12 years old. They're out on Tick Island. There's this huge midden pile, and there's a graveyard. They're pulling out 10-footers. 10-footers, they measured them. The archaeologist comes down. He's not interested in that. He's interested in this burial ground. I mean, they were here. They were all over Florida. They were all over Aruba. They were everywhere. But I digress. Something's coming as America finally ready to take the UFOs seriously. This is a little alien. And it was really interesting. Like decades ago, 1994, before I was published, and he hadn't written anything. It was just research. And I went to the little alien because there was a UFO conference there. This is right in Rachel, Nevada, near Area 51. And 25 years later, something like that. I'm not going to do the math, but in the like 2018, 17, somewhere in there, I lectured at the Little Alien, and it was not lost on me, because decades before I was just there as a tourist, and here I am now lecturing at the Little Alien. I had books and DVDs and all this stuff. It was very sobering, because I realized what the Lord had done in my life, how the Lord had opened doors, how the Lord had allowed books to be published and films and all this stuff. Because it's all glory to the King. That's why, you remember another rabbit trail? Help me out here if I get lost, okay? Thank you. Thank you for rescuing me in the morning session. I really appreciate that. The presidents. Oh, yeah, thank you. So, where was I? See, I go down another rabbit trail and I forgot what I was talking about. But I really did. I just lost it. See what happens? Where was I? Okay, but after that, I was going to say something. I don't even remember what I was going to say. LA, are you getting senile? I hope not. But anyway, rabbit trails are rabbit trails. So here's the deal. Years ago, preparing for what I'm doing now, and I'm at the Little Alien and I'm talking all this stuff. The first time I was there, Bob Lazar walked in. You guys know who Bob Lazar is? Bob Lazar was the whistleblower from Area 51. He's the guy that talked about back engineering Element 115. Lazar is the guy that went on the record with George Knapp, because his life was being threatened, and broke the whole story about back engineering craft at Area 51. Lazar talked about this 93, 94, right? Somewhere in that window of time. And decades later, we've got David Grush saying exactly the same thing in the halls of Congress. But ufologists knew about this way back in 93, 94, when Bob Lazar went on the record and stated, we're back engineering crashed UFOs at Area 51. Gary Schultz was the guy who, you can't do this anymore. There was a place called the Mailbox, and there was a black mailbox on this highway, and you would make a left turn where the mailbox was, and you go up to this high place on a Wednesday night, and you would see UFOs. That's when they would fly them. Why on a Wednesday? Because they did a study. Wednesday night, they realized most people stay home midweek on Wednesday. No one goes anywhere. So Wednesday night, you would go and sit there, and around 2 or 3 in the morning, you'd watch them come up like this. And actually, Fox Mulder, that whole X-File thing, they did an episode which copied exactly that. Okay, moving right along, cattle mutilations. So, Ezekiel is escorted by the Most High God. He said furthermore unto me, Son of man, seest thou what they do, even the great abominations that the house of Israel committeth here, that I should go far off from my sanctuary. But turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations. Abomination, a disgusting thing, to be abhorred, to be detested. This is the trailer. Cattle mutilations, the calling card of darkness. So Tucker Carlson was doing a show when he was on Fox about cattle mutilations. You know, Tucker's a pretty smart guy, and he does a deep dive on some of this stuff. I'm really amazed in some ways that we haven't connected yet. Maybe we have, I don't know. Maybe he's got some of our DVDs or read books, I don't know. But I would love to sit down and talk to him. Tucker believes that there's a supernatural component to this whole thing, and of course there is. So this is, look at the date. This actually, when we were filming the cattle mutilation film, with Chuck Zukowski as our tentpole, the mainstay of the film, this stuff was going on. 6 cows in Texas found dead and mutilated. This went global. This is CBS News. It's not George Norrie. It's everywhere. And it was ongoing. And it went, look at Monday, 2023. So we are out like a month later filming, talking to ranchers and filming all the stuff, all the interviews with cattle mutilations. Cattle mysteriously found dead with their tongues cut out and no trace of who did it. And I'll get into this. 6 mutilated cows found dead with their tongues cut out. What's killing Texas cows? Removing their tongues. This is the addition. And sex organs. Officials don't know. Why are they running with this? Normally, the mainstream media never picks up on any of this stuff. It's like way down here. They won't even talk about it. Most of the time now, ranchers don't even report it. They just burn the cow and that's it. Or they'll bury the cow and that's it. Many ranchers don't report it because they don't want the advertisement. They don't want the sheriff coming out or the veterinarian coming out and reporters coming out, so they'll just bury it. So notice the sex organs. So a basic mutilation, let me finish this. Mystery has 6 cows found dead with their tongues cut out by the Texas highway. What's killing Texas cows? Removing their tongues and sex organs, officials don't know. And on. Mutilated with their tongue. It was just reported endlessly. And you have to ask yourself why. Years ago, as I was saying, I was watching this film. I went to a UFO conference. Linda Moulton Howe was there. She was talking about Strange Harvest, this award-winning documentary. I bought the DVD. I came home. Actually, it was not a DVD. It was, what are those things called? Yeah, the 8-track. That's what I got. And I came in and put the thing in the thing, and you know, I could watch about 5 or 10 minutes of it at a time. Because here, and this is for you guys, there's nothing in your grid system which will prepare you for where we're going to go. You don't have it. You don't have it in your grid system. You just don't. I didn't. Nobody does. We don't walk around going like, what's with this mutilated cow stuff? What are they doing with this stuff? You don't think about that. I don't think about this stuff. But because of my research and because of what I do as a ufologist, as a researcher, as a Christian researcher who believes in the biblical narrative, who staunchly stands on Genesis 3:15 with the breeding program, this is my wheelhouse. But I'm not prepared for it either. And so when I looked at this in the 90s, this film freaked me out. Ask my wife. I could watch 5, 10 minutes of it at a time and just went, whoa, this is way too weird for me. Turn it off, a couple of days later, go back, try to watch more of it. This is where we're going. This is the calling card of darkness. You have nothing in your grid system that prepares you for this. So I'm trying to be as gentle and kind as possible and sort of ease us into this. Asked Linda Moulton Howe years ago, decades ago. She also has the Earth Files YouTube channel. It's a great place to go and check some stuff out. So, calf found mutilated on a ranch. Now, the classic mutilation is, and I'll give you a scenario, it's just like a farmer or a rancher has a herd, let's say, of 45, 50 cattle. He moves them from one pasture to another, checks them all out. It's maybe 5, 6 o'clock at night. Sun starts to go down, closes the gate, waves goodbye to the cows, hops in his four-wheeler, goes back to the ranch house, sits down with his wife, has a nice dinner, watches something on the boob tube, prays before he goes to bed, goes to sleep. Next morning he gets up, hops on the four-wheeler, goes to the pasture. He immediately knows something is wrong. The herd has moved away from a dead cow lying on its side. So the herd's over here, there's a dead cow. The farmer begins to walk up to it. Immediately he knows something is wrong. There's something really weird going on here. He gets close to the cow. The first thing he realizes, there's no footprints around the cow. Second thing he sees, there's no blood. Third thing he sees, the eye has been completely cored out, the jaw, the flesh around the jaw has been completely stripped. The sex organs are missing. In some cows, you can see down into the whole inside is gone out of the cow. It's like, what? Sometimes the brain is gone. Sometimes the heart is removed from the cow, but the pericardium, the sac that goes around the heart, is still in there. And there's not a drop of blood anywhere. And there's no footprints. See where I'm going with this? This is the calling card of darkness. Now, if you were a friendly space alien and you needed this genetic material for whatever you were going to do, you certainly wouldn't drop the carcass of the cow back in the farmer's field. This is absolutely 100% deliberate. They do it deliberately. And they place the cow back in the farmer's field. Farmer comes out, he's totally freaked out. Who wouldn't be? Calls his veterinarian. Veterinarian comes out, he's never seen anything like this before. Has no explanation. The cuts are done surgically, with surgical precision. Absolutely surgical precision, like a cold laser. It's not like an animal ripping the flesh. This is like perfectly circular, cuts. Everything is excised with absolute surgical precision. And there's no blood left in the animal. As the 1970s brought a swell of unexplained livestock deaths across America's rural West, 7 cattle were found mutilated in Round Valley. This is ground zero. This is a shot of Snippy the horse. This happened, we went there, you'll see that in a little bit. The skeleton of Snippy is actually on display there in Emalusa. This was sort of ground zero. And when this happened, the horse had been missing for like a day or two, and they found the horse completely drained of blood, the flesh stripped, as you can see there. When they opened up the skull to see the brain, there was no brain. When they opened up the chest cavity, there were no lungs. And this ain't predators, and it's not a satanic cult, and there's no footprints around the body, and there's no blood. That's the skeleton right there. So part of it. Us the backstory here. What's with this horse?
She was discovered in 1967.
With some volume, please.
The woman who owned her, her name was Nelly Lewis, and the horse was over here on the King Ranch, which is over by Mount Blanket. But they found her after she'd been missing for over a day. When they found her, she was totally stripped from the shoulder to the nose. All that was left was bones. This isn't making sense to anybody. Nellie said that the day before that she had seen UFOs in the area. And this valley is known for UFOs.
It's a hot spot. Mm-hmm. That's what it looks like.
The area around Snippy was radioactive, which is bizarre.
So the Geiger counters out there, and they're seeing the needles are jumping.
Right.
Is that a fair statement?
There were, yes, and there were indentations in the ground like something had landed there. They opened the skull to get the brain out. There was no brain. Then they opened the body cavity, no organs in the body.
So that's where we are. That's ground zero. That was Lady or Snippy the horse. That's what it became. Cattle mutilation mystery continues. UFO sightings are reported. We are the first team of researchers that I'm aware of that put the pieces together. And I don't mean, no pun intended, but we discovered something. Why? Because we have a biblical perspective of everything. Number one. Number two, the Holy Spirit is leading and guiding us and showing us what's really going on. That's at the very end of the presentation. That's the punchline, and you will get there. Suspicious cattle deaths reported. Cattle mutilation so common, ranchers rarely report new cases. This is Rancher Miller. We went to his ranch just like I interviewed Judy Messeline. We also interviewed Chuck Sukowski with the cattle mutilations. He's sort of Mr. Cattle Mutilation himself. He's done about 50 of these things. He's former law enforcement. You'll meet him in a little bit. But this is Rancher Miller. 16 cows taken and mutilated, and you'll hear my interview with him. But I'll give you a little bit extra. He lives in the middle of nowhere. He's got 1,400 acres. It's a big spread. 1,400 acres, okay? And the road in front is a 2-lane highway. country road, straight as an arrow. Straight, absolutely straight all day long. Straight as an arrow, right? Guess how many fatalities have been there since Rancher Miller's been there? Right in front of his house. 12 fatalities. Right in front of the house. How is it possible? Statistically, that's impossible. 12 fatalities on a straight road with no trees or anything else. 12 fatalities, 12 accidents right in front of the house. Something else is going on. When we were there, we prayed over the land. 16 cows taken and mutilated. That's like one every 2 or 3 years. And only on his ranch. So here, this is part of the interview. With the mutilations, the 16, I want you to describe, not every one, but I'm assuming, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm assuming that different parts of the animal were taken. Tell us what parts of the animal were basically taken or mutilated.
Okay, usually one eye was gone and it was just cut out, and sometimes one ear was gone. And a lot of them had a cut kind of on the chest, and then the rear end there was a cut there, and apparently some of them you could look right down in the cavity, and so I think that one calf that they did a biopsy on, I think the lungs, the heart, the kidneys, there were several items missing out of it.
With the mutilations, the 16, I want you to describe. Fear is always a calling card of darkness. So as Christians, we walk in faith. This is why the Lord gave me that word pusillanimous a while back, right? LA, you're fearful. What am I fearful of? Lord, this, and this. Fearful. I actually talked to Bob about this. He's my pen pal. He prays for me every day, and but I said, I'm fearful. The Lord showed me that. So we can't live in fear and in faith at the same time. We can't. We're either living in faith or we're living in fear. If you're fearful about something, then you're not walking in faith. Then we're not walking in faith. If I am walking in faith, then I'm not fearful because I know the Lord's got it. I've given it over to him. So we all learn this stuff, right? It's like our car broke down last weekend on Pacific Coast Highway. It was 3 hours before a tow truck came. Welcome to California. And whoa, what was that? Careful, LA. So my wife immediately got fearful. That's okay. I'm not dissing her, but she was fearful. What's going to happen? What are we going to do? I said, honey, it's going to be okay. AAA will be here, and we'll be back home. It's all going to be good. Maybe that's the difference of the sexes. I don't know. But she was fearful, and I wasn't. So I was walking in faith. It was no big deal. And then she calmed down. We prayed, and the tow truck came, and the rest is history. But there were times in my life where I'll wake up at 2 a.m, and I am very, very fearful because the enemy is pounding. The enemy is pounding. And Bob knows about this because I talked to him about it. The enemy is pounding. And you know what I do? I recite scripture for an hour. Because what does Jesus do? When the enemy comes upon him, he's reciting scripture. That's it. The word of God is alive and active, sharper than a double-edged sword. It penetrates between soul and spirit, right? Right? That whole deal. Joint and marrow. It discerns what's right and what's wrong, the intentions of the heart. The word of God is right. That's it. And I get up and I'll just recite scripture by memory for an hour. Sometimes my mind drifts and I have to redo it, and I'll finally get it. Fine, I got it. And at the end of that hour, or 45 minutes, whatever it takes, I'm refreshed. The attack's gone. The enemy's not pounding on my head. All of a sudden, I'm okay. The fear is gone because I'm walking in faith. Do I like it? No, I really don't. If I could have my way, I would just disappear. I really would. See ya. I'll be 74 in December. But I don't want to disappear. That's that pusillanimous, that fearful spirit. My mother was one of the most, this is what I used to talk about, man. Help me out here, okay? My mother, I love this guy. He's like right there. He's going to keep me from disappearing down a rabbit hole. I led my mother of the Lord on her deathbed. Raised Catholic, novenas, the rosaries, the whole thing, the pictures, you know, St. Anne relics, the crazy Jesus picture with the eyes that open up. Ah! When you're a little kid and you're looking at that, just scared. Ah! He ran out of the room. He opened his eyes. Oh my God! Right? So, but I used to describe Lee, because she was really never a mother, but Lee, as a toxic blend of fear, masculinity, and self-obsession. That's who she was. And I led her to the Lord. And she lived with us the last 3 years of her life. So that spirit of fear is generational, I think. This is all extra, and it can be passed down generationally. So you got to do the work. You got to go, Lord, the spirit of fear. Where did that come from in the family? You know, whatever it is. Take authority over it in the blood of Jesus. Repent of it. Take it from me. I do not want this. It stops here. It's not passed down to my children or my grandchildren. It stops here. It stops now, right now. Got to do the work. Got to do the work. Okay, that was extra. But fear is always the calling card of darkness. Listen to this next question.
There's nothing I could do about it.
But let me ask you something. The level of fear, I mean, that when you come out and you see something like an animal like that, and you know it's not a bobcat or a mountain lion or a bear or a coyote or anything like that. These cuts are surgical and they're precise and the blood is drained and the scavengers won't touch the carcass. We know that from all the study that Chuck and other researchers have done with the cattle mutilations. So when you look at this, I mean, what the fear level? Look at his face. 10, watch his body language. The fear level?
I guess it's 8. I don't know.
Okay.
You know,
so it's way up there.
It's way up there, and then I guess the more I have it, the fear kind of goes down. But you still worry what's going to happen next.
An 8, I think he's being generous. I mean, he told me some stuff that was just very personal and stuff that had happened around the ranch, and I'll get into what happens. The way the fear just multiplies, because fear is always the calling card of darkness. So the creation of hybrids, once again, we're exposing the deception of the prince of the power of the air. You will be armed, you'll understand. Just think, if something happens and a friend comes up, hey, did you hear about the cattle mutilation that happened in Oklahoma last week? And you go, yeah, I know all about those. And they'll kind of go, what do you mean you know all about those? Well, I was at this conference and this tinfoil hat guy, L.A. Marzulli, was there. And he was talking about cattle mutilations, but you know, he made some really cogent points, and I'll tell you what they are. What a witnessing tool that is, right? Now, that's not going to happen every day, but we talked about abductions, we talked about the whole UFO phenomena. You're being armed to be little witnesses. Go out there and we have an answer from a biblical perspective. Genesis 3:15, the creation of hybrids. Daniel 2:43, their seed will mingle with the seed of men, but they will not cleave to them. The word cleave I got from Jim Williamson. It's the word that when a man leaves his mother and father and marries, he will cleave to his wife. That's what that is. No cleaving in Daniel 2:43. They will mingle their seed. Who are they? It's not human beings. With the seed of men. They will mingle their seed with the seed of men. There's that Genesis 3:15 screaming at us again. This is why that's the gateway to the biblical narrative. And we don't have the proper exegesis of Genesis 3:15 when we get the passages like Daniel 2:43, we're left clueless. They're creating hybrids, the creation of hybrid beings. Watch.
When I pushed her back, when she went to kiss me, I pushed her back. Her eyes shape-shifted. The whites went to a golden color with black streaks, and her pupils shrunk. I upset her, and that's what happened. When I pushed her back, her eyes shape-shifted, and I pushed her off me. That was my reaction. And I said, what the heck was that? And she gave me the most evil laugh you've ever heard. And I got the heck out of there.
That's Al Matthews. He's in the first UFO film. He's also in number 4. He's a lifelong abductee. We helped get him to Jesus. after he had that encounter with the woman and the eye shapeshift. She was a hybrid. She was a modern day Nephilim. What was she interested in? Reproducing with him, having sex. That's all they think about. And the eyes, they can't get the eyes right. She's the one with the dark glasses. She's the one, Diane is her name, that when she invited Al up, they're drinking wine out of these big goblets, and this big deer fly comes and lands on the rim of the wine glass. Al goes, I'll get it for you. She goes, no, I'll get it. She reaches forward like this. She doesn't grab the fly. The fly sticks to her index finger. She brings it up like this and goes like that from like 6 inches away. Yeah, how is that possible? How is that possible? She's a hybrid. There was another incident that a woman, I gotta watch my time here. Oh, I have 2 hours left? Hallelujah. Keep going, LA. More rabbit trails. There's a guy he's in construction, he's in a truck, his friend is next to him, they go to a fast food restaurant, they go to window 1, order the window 2, pay the money, now they're at window 3 or whatever, they're gonna get the food, lady hands the bag, he picks up the bag like this, hands it to his friend like that, looks up at the lady, she hands him the bag, and she shapeshifts right in front of him. Half the face goes completely alien, iridescent skin. They look at each other, she realizes she's shapeshifted. He's completely in horror. She covers her face and goes running away from the window. They're here. They are walking amongst us. Some of you may think that's crazy. This is the deal. There's always the skeptic until it's your turn. When you see something that you can't explain, when you have an encounter, when you see an entity, then everything changes. There was a guy, another rabbit trail, there's a guy who's a tow truck driver in Malibu. I broke down, he picks me up. Out of the blue, this guy's, I never met this guy, he goes, hey, do you believe in UFOs? Out of the blue. And I go, you're talking to one of the world's leading experts on UFOs. He goes, well, look at this. And he shows me a picture on his iPhone. He goes, I was driving the tow truck 2 o'clock in the morning, coming down Pacific Coast Highway where the fish market is. I know exactly where he's talking about. There in the road are 3 UFOs hovering, just 3 of them, huge, 80 feet in diameter, glowing orange, like that. There's a couple of cars, everybody's looking at this thing. He tries to take a picture with his iPhone. The iPhone gets hot in his hand, he has to drop it. They can mess with the electronics. One of them goes shooting straight up, the other one goes out to the north, the other one goes to the west and into the ocean and disappears. He told me he was a skeptic. He was an absolute skeptic, he used to scoff at this stuff. Now he's a full believer. All it takes is one incident that you can't explain. All it takes is something, whether it's sleep paralysis, whether it's an entity, an orb, you hear something that you shouldn't be hearing, you have a sighting, you see lights in the sky, and this is where rebuke first, ask questions later comes in. No matter what it is, don't engage it. We have to learn to rebuke first, ask questions later. How did this saying come about, which is now plastered on mugs in our store? We're driving home from an Italian restaurant. Peggy's driving, I'm in the passenger seat. This is years ago, maybe almost 20 years ago, something like that. And I go, wow, what's that? She goes, where? And I go, look, right ahead. She goes, oh, it's probably a plane coming in for a landing. I go, Peggy, it's too low, and planes don't come in from a landing. LAX is down this way. That's not a plane. She goes, oh, yeah, it is. I go, no, it's not. Look, it's moving. It's changing. And so here's this light, which is shining like this, okay? All of a sudden, directly above the light, bam, a little light appears and slowly descends into the big light, and then the big light disappears in concentric circles like this. And I look at her and I go, we're not in Kansas anymore. We pull over, and this thing happens 2 more times, for a total of 3. The light appears, little light, get down, concentric rings. We're watching this thing. Wow, that's pretty cool. I wonder what that was. Well, we know exactly what it was. So at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, guess who wakes me up? The Lord wakes me up. And I am taken to the woodshed, as it were. And the Lord begins to lecture me and goes, LA, what just happened? What did you do when you saw the object? You know, I'm going like, oh, I don't know. And he's going like, You're the guy that's always warning people about this stuff, and yet you engaged it. And the Lord said, always rebuke first and ask questions later. That's where it came from, Holy Spirit stuff. So if you see something, if we see something, we rebuke it in the name of Jesus. Now, if it's really far away, it might not have an effect. If it's up close, it will definitely have an effect. Definitely have an effect. Boy, I almost fell over. Careful. This is Chuck Zukowski. Chuck is Mr. Cattle Mutilation. He's been on 50 of these things. You can look at the monitor in the background where the dead cow is. He's former law enforcement. I've ridden in a pickup truck for like 3 hours with Chuck. It was just nonstop talking shop. We were just going on and on and on. He knows what Christianity is, but he's still like this, arm's length, okay? But there were seeds that were planted, so check it out. Let me ask you something. Do you think the phenomena is benevolent or malevolent? Or you're still, weighing things in the balance?
I can tell you this, LA. I take a gun with me every one of my investigations.
Oh, I would too.
Every time.
So he won't answer the question directly, but he takes a gun wherever he goes. So I guess they're not too friendly, are they? And this next one is really off the charts because it happens to human beings. It's not, cattle is way more prevalent, but there are human beings that have been mutilated as well. The dark connection between UFOs and grisly mutilations. One of the most shocking cases involved an Air Force sergeant allegedly abducted by a saucer-like aircraft, and he was mutilated in the same way the cows were. Now, Chuck will talk about this.
And there was a lady slumped over the steering wheel, fully closed, He goes, "You okay, lady? You okay?" And no response, right? No response, right. I went, oh man. So they called the coroner, whatever their version of the coroner is in Canada. They figured maybe she had a heart attack or whatever, or overdose. You never know, right? They get in the corner, opens up, they're closed, and it's the same thing. She was, it was a mutilation, and the clothes were put back on, and placed back in the car.
Unbelievable.
And after I heard that, I'm going, all right, I don't like these guys.
This is Rancher Miller. This is one of the cows. Notice the, let me get my pointer here. Notice the flesh around the head, and the entrails, the sex organs are cored out. So once again, completely stripped, surgical precision, and all this. And again, it's dropped or placed deliberately back in the farmer's field. So why are they doing that? Why not take the cow and move it someplace? Drop it in the ocean. They don't do that. And I'll tell you why. Brett Baer runs bizarre reports suggesting link between UFOs and unexplained pregnancies. So here comes the punchline. Let me just see where we are here real quick, if I may. This is what's been happening. See my pointer? Oh, there it is. Okay, thank you. Sometimes the pointer disappears. It doesn't make me a happy camper. All right, so now it won't go. Now it won't go full screen. There we go. Okay. So once again, this is Fox News. We talked a little bit about this, and we'll talk a lot about this in the next presentation. So Brett Baer runs bizarre stories suggesting link between UFOs and unexplained pregnancies. That's Karen. That's Karen Wilkinson and who knows how many millions of other men and women. Sperm is taken from the men, ovum is taken from the woman. Why? They're creating hybrids. Genesis 3:15. It'll be like the days of Noah. And for some of you, you get up to that threshold and you just go, I can't go there, LA. It's just too weird. Why would God allow this? Why does God allow Auschwitz? You tell me. We are in a cosmic war. We know the end because we read the book of Revelation, and we know he comes back. And when he comes back, everything changes. Hallelujah. What does Paul say? All of creation groans? We're all groaning here. We put on this good face, but if we're really realistic, if we're really honest, if we let our hair down, if we let our cards on the table, whatever analogy you want to use, we're all groaning. Everybody in this room is groaning. We all want to see the king. Those of us who know the king and love the king, all we care about is seeing the king. And yet we're faithful. Hand on the plow, do what we're supposed to do, try to walk in a circumspect way till he comes back. But man, I got to tell you, I'm like, are we going up yet? Are we going up? That's what I want. Meantime, hand on the plow. So this is Stolen Seed, Evil Harvest. Karen Wilkinson, she talked about the abductions. What she didn't tell you, and she'll say it right here, she was abducted and impregnated by them 3 different times.
Having this weird feeling that I had more children, you know, it was bothering me. I woke up in the middle of the night, 2 or 3 in the morning, and there's 3 children standing by my bed. And at first, I wake up, I see them, and the first thing I thought is, oh, what's the matter? My kids are here by the bed. I have 4 children, and they look like my boys. And I said, one of my boys' names, what are you doing? And then, as you know, when you first wake up, you don't see very clear, plus I wear contacts, and so it takes a while for my eyes to focus. And then I realized, wait, these aren't my boys, they're too short. My boys are taller than this. They're not as tall as my boys. And they started trying to pull me off the bed. But not physically with hands, but I felt them pulling me. And I'm like, no. In Jesus' name, no, I am not going. And they're pulling and I'm pulling back. And I'm like, no, not this time. No. And I'm like, and it resists, it breaks the pull. And as soon as it pulls, and I'm paralyzed at this point, I've had so many times where I've had that sleep paralysis. Same thing. I was having that sleep paralysis. I break out of that and I hit my husband. I'm like, why aren't you helping me? You know? I'm like, why didn't you help me? He wakes up, he's like, what? I'm like, didn't you see them? Why didn't you help me?
He's completely
out of it.
Is this your same husband that you were married
Yes.
when you were 18?
Oh, no.
This is a different husband.
This is the one you met.
Right, and he's born again, spirit-filled. And
Yes.
so let me ask you something. The 3 children that were standing there next to the bed, what did they look like? Did they look human or not human?
No. There were some features that reminded me of my kids. Okay, like one of my kids is in boot camp and they'll put pictures out with like 100 kids and I can find him every time. Do you know what I mean? Like the Where's Waldo, but you're really good at it. And there were features that I recognized. And that's why immediately I just knew. I was like, and immediately I thought it was them, because that's kind of where your mind first goes. And then I realized, nope, their faces were too big, were too fat, too round. They weren't, and they were too short. I've often, after that, I kind of looked into this a little bit because I was curious, and I've heard people talk about them being skinny or whatever. No, they seemed really stocky to me. Stocky.
But shorter than normal?
Shorter than my kids. Mm-hmm.
How tall were they?
Maybe 4.5 feet.
Did you look at the eyes at all?
I did. It was dark. Their eyes seemed to be almost glowy, but not glowy. That's probably the wrong. They were dark and intense.
Larger than normal human beings?
Oh, yeah. Very much so.
So they were, without putting words in your mouth, is it safe to say that there was perhaps an alien component to the children that were there?
Oh, for sure. And what bothered me about it, and I really had to pray on this for a while, because at first, and I don't like that I felt this way, I wanted them to come back because I thought they're half me. That means there must be some God in them. And maybe they just need love, and maybe I can find a way because they're alive. And I prayed on it, and I knew that there was nothing in there. There was no soul. And I think what they're trying to, I think they're trying to manufacture souls. I think they're trying to figure out how to get a soul. They didn't have that. There was no compassion in their eye. You know, when you look at people, you see, even some of the most damaged people in this world, you look at them, you can still see some kind of person that's kind of love, some kind of compassion, maybe just feeling in there. It was cold. It was just so cold. And I realized there was nothing there for me to save. And the best thing I could do was just pray and pray and pray it away that they never came back. But I don't want anything to do with them.
So, the 3 children were hybrid beings that appeared. They were short, they were stocky, they were part her, but they were also the seed of a dragon. Those were hybrids. They tried pulling her off the bed. They tried to re-abduct her. In the name of Jesus, no, I'm not going. So the question is, what happens to Karen and all the other female abductees who become pregnant? I wrote about this in the very first book of the Nephilim trilogy, the very first book I ever wrote, where this woman is in a psych ward because her baby went missing at the end of the 3rd month of pregnancy. And they figured she just went crazy and killed the baby. But she didn't kill the baby. The baby was taken. In Karen's case, and she talked about this today, the baby is taken from the mother at the end of the 3rd month. Blood product from cattle wins approval for use in human beings. Bovine blood, the blood from cattle and horses, can be used in human transfusions. Can be used in human transfusions. Okay? This is how dark this is. And in some ways, I'm amazed that the enemy hasn't taken me out. There must be 100 angels around here with drawn swords or something. I don't know. Because this is, we're the only researchers that have ever exposed this. No one else has exposed this, connected the dots between the abduction phenomena and the cattle mutilations. So, artificial wombs are being created here on Earth by us, by human beings. Artificial wombs. So this is the punchline. When a cow is taken and the blood is drained from the cow and the material is the sex organs, the tongue, whatever it is, that material is used, in our opinion, to create an artificial womb. Because when they take that child from the mother, and there's no trace of anything, at the end of the 3rd month, that entity, because it's not a human being, it's part human, that entity, that hybrid entity, needs a place to go to develop into a full-blown hybrid. They're creating artificial wombs with the material. They're creating artificial wombs with the material. The blood of cows, the material from the cows, are used to create an artificial womb for the hybrids to come to full gestation. Can I prove that? No, I can't. I've never been on board a ship, and I have no desire to be on one. But that's what, in our opinion, that's what it is. Everything just goes click, it just all fits together. Oh, that's why we're doing this. Because the blood of a cow can be used in human transfusions. They are creating artificial wombs. Sometimes the abductees talk about seeing these cylinders, these like glass-like jars this big with artificial wombs and some sort of a hybrid entity swimming or being grown in these things. German scientists developed the world's first artificial womb facility. That's what it looks like. Another shot. The seed of the dragon will be at war with the seed of the woman. Genesis 3:15. See why the Genesis 3:15 is absolutely paramount in our understanding of the biblical narrative? So when we get to things like this, we, Christians, have a biblically based answer. Nobody else does. Nobody else does. We do. We do, because we have the Bible telling us exactly what's going to go on. Their seed will mingle with the seed of men, but they will not cleave to them. Right there, it's screaming at us. Be like the days of Noah when he returns. We're in the days of Noah. What differentiates the days of Noah? The Nephilim, the fallen angels, doing what? Creating hybrid beings. That's why the flood, to wipe them all out. And they're here over and over and over again. Their seed will mingle with the seed of men, but they will not cleave to them. Daniel 2:43. That's where we are. Why does it take any of us as surprise? Why? Because all this is dumbed down and you never hear about it. When was the last time any of you heard Daniel 2:43 preached? You might hear it in this church because Dan does a great job of going line by line, verse by verse. But unless you're in Daniel, you'll never hear it. And when you get there, what does it mean? Their seed will mingle with the seed of men, but they will not cleave to them. See what we just did? We just exposed the works of the enemy. You have knowledge that very few people on the planet have. Right now, you know what cattle mutilations are used for. And you can tell somebody else. If they come up and ask, well, what do you think? You can tell them. Oh, this all goes back to Genesis 3:15. Satan's out number 2 to when he's building an army. These are hybrids. They're walking amongst us. Al's had an encounter. The guy at the fast food store had an encounter. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. The seed of the dragon, as it was in the days of Noah, so will be at the coming of the Son of Man. Their seed will mingle with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave to one another. So what are the artificial wombs used for? Modern day Nephilim. This came from a game trail. That is a hybrid, in my opinion. Manifesting. Take a look at the eyes. Look at the pointed ears. Notice it's very androgynous. Notice the temperature, it's 46 degrees. Low-cut shirt or blouse, whatever it is. Very androgynous looking. There's another shot. And it's looking right at the camera. It knows exactly where it is and what it's doing. So people said, oh, this is fake. Oh, really? So what's this? The grandson went out with a sheet to try to show this when it manifested. I don't have that shot. When it manifested. And he wasn't able to duplicate it. So they are walking amongst us. We don't need to see that. And we'll get into the rungs in just a second. So this is where we are. And cattle mutilations are ongoing. They're not going away. And there's a breeding program. And as strange and as weird as that might sound, I truly believe with all my heart that that is the truth. That's what's happening on the planet. And that's why he's got to come back, because you can't fix this. You can't fix this. This whole thing is accelerating in ways that I've never seen. And it's on all fronts. Wars and rumors of war, famines, pestilence, earthquakes in the first places, talked about all that. So it's now 1:36. We're going to take like a 15-minute break. I'll come back, wrap it up. You really want to stay for this. This is the rungs on the disclosure ladder. I will go fairly quickly. We'll do a Q&A. Send you all home with happy thoughts. See you in 15 minutes.
We come alive to magnify the praises of our God. The rocks cry out if we don't shout the praises of our God. There's nothing that can stand against the praises of our God. We will defeat the enemy with the praises of our God. Oh, sing praise to our God, for his name is worthy, worthy. Oh, sing praise to our God, for our God is worthy. everything else can wait. I've come to seek your face, so everything else can wait. I'm here for you. I want to just be here at your feet. Just be here on my knees. Here in your presence, I am complete, Jesus.
Okay. The lights are up. Please find your seat. Okay, this is the last presentation. We'll do a Q&A. We will pray, and you guys will go home. Happy campers. Loaded with all sorts of information. All right. This is the rungs of disclosure. This is the half book I'm working on. It's almost done. I probably got about 5 chapters to go. The problem is they keep adding another rung of a ladder as we go up. So, there will be an interactive website on that. What you're looking at, what you're looking at here is the best UFO footage I've ever seen. This was taken by the late Dr. Roger Lear in Kumburgaz, Turkey. You are seeing a craft, gull-wing craft with 2 gray aliens open. This thing was there for 5 hours. He watched it and filmed it for most of that time. Not only do we get to see the craft, but we get to see the beings inside the craft. We also believe that there was an abduction at the time. This was an abduction, that's what we think. And there's a body in the prone position in front of those 2 entities. That's conjecture on our part, but we've looked at the film very carefully, and that's what we think is going on. Roger was there for hours. People steal the work. It's all over YouTube in certain areas. They'll steal our work. We broke the story. My late business partner, Richard Shaw, and I, in our Watchers series, we broke the story, thanks to Dr. Lear. He gave us the footage. He didn't give anybody else the footage. He gave us the footage. But the way things work, people steal your stuff and act like it's their own. There's a great shot right there. Look at that. See, this is why I think it's the best UFO footage, because it's just not this little streak, right? It's, here's the craft, here's the beings in the craft, deal with it. I'll just play a little bit more and then I'll move on. He's zooming in. Telephoto lens. And there it is there. The whole craft starts to come into shape. It's turned. You get the point. Okay, so watch this.
Reports of flying saucers are nothing new.
These are routine sightings, not isolated events.
Are you seeing that? It's spinning. There's a whole swarm of them. Oh my God. They're all against the wind. All against the wind. Oh, look at this. That's 110, 150.
There was an historic hearing today on Capitol Hill and an unprecedented bipartisan push for UFO transparency.
とにかくまず今日は天からついてるクリエイティブでビューティフルなコラボレーションをしてる。I tell you, it's hit Broadway. This always happens.
That was a Super Bowl ad. I always watch the Super Bowl for the halftime show. I mean, the game's interesting too, but I watch the halftime show to see what nonsense they're going to throw at us this year. And then I always watch the commercials. That's called predictive programming. That is exactly what's going to happen, in my opinion. I gave you that last night. I'll reiterate it, recapitulate it this afternoon, because that's it. That's what we're looking at. This is very, very recent, last couple of days. Caught on cam, UFO over LaGuardia Airport. It's not going away. This is a phrase I coined years ago. UFOs are real, burgeoning, not going away. It is burgeoning, baby, all day long. And notice there's no tail section, no wings, no rotor wash. That's the real deal. Two paradigms concerning the UFO phenomenon, extraterrestrial or interdimensional. Let's walk through it. We have no proof, but if we extrapolate based on the best information we have available to us, we have to come to the conclusion that other life probably exists out there and perhaps in many places. Neil Armstrong. Commander Eugene Cernan. I've been asked about UFOs, and I've said publicly I thought they were somebody else's, some other civilization. Admiral Roscoe Hillenkoetter, Director, CIA, 47 to 50. Unknown objects are operating under intelligent control. It is imperative that we learn where UFOs come from and what their purpose is. Giorgio Tsoukalos, he's the guy in Ancient Aliens. The only way the ancient astronaut theory can be disproven is when they show up and say, we were never here in the past. Giorgio Tsoukalos, again, we're half extraterrestrial, half human, we're hybrids. No, Giorgio, we are made fearfully and wonderfully in the image and likeness of God. General Douglas MacArthur, the nations of the world will have to unite. For the next war will be an interplanetary war. The nations of the earth must someday make a common front against attack by people from other planets. Air Chief Marshal Lord Dowding, of course the flying saucers are real and they are interplanetary. Now this is the other side of the aisle, our side of the aisle. We are part of a symbiotic relationship with something which disguises itself as an extraterrestrial invasion so as not to alarm us. Terence McKenna. Dr. Jacques Vallée. Human beings are under the control of a strange force that bends them in absurd ways, forcing them to play a role in a bizarre game of what? Deception. Gordon Crichton. There seems to be no evidence yet that any of these craft or beings originate from outer space. Lynn Kitteau, UFOs and Related Subjects. A large part of the available UFO literature is closely linked with mysticism and the metaphysical. It deals with subjects like mental telepathy, automatic writing, and invisible entities, as well as phenomena like poltergeist, manifestation, and possession. Many of the UFO reports now being published in the popular press recount alleged incidents that are strikingly similar to demonic possession and/or psychic phenomena. Dr. Pierre Guérin, UFO behavior is more akin to magic and the physics as we know it. The modern UFO nuts and the demons of the past days are probably identical. John A. Keel, the UFO manifestations seem to be, by and large, merely minor variations of the age-old demonological phenomenon. Whitley Strieber, I became entirely given over to extreme dread. The fear was so powerful that it seemed to make my personality completely evaporate. Whitley ceased to exist. What was left was a body in a state of raw fear, so great that it swept about me like a thick, suffocating curtain, turning paralysis into a condition that seemed close to death. I died, and a wild animal appeared in my place. Dr. Jacques Vallée. The symbolic display seen by the abductees is identical to the type of initiation ritual or astral voyage that is embedded in the occult traditions of every culture. The structure of abduction stories is identical to that of occult initiation rituals. The UFO beings of today belong to the same class of manifestations as the occult entities that were described in centuries past. G.H. Pember, Earth's Earliest Ages. Great book if you've never read that. The occultist is brought into intelligent communication with the spirits of the air and can receive any knowledge which they possess, or any false impressions they choose to impart. The demons seem permitted to do various wonders at their request. Dr. Jacques Vallée. The medical examination to which abductees are said to be subjected, often accompanied by sadistic sexual manipulation, is reminiscent of the medieval tales of encounters with demons. It makes no sense in a sophisticated or technical framework. Any intelligent being equipped with the scientific marvels that UFOs possess would be in a position to achieve any of these alleged scientific objectives in a shorter time and with fewer risks. There we are, the rungs on the ladder of disclosure. I've already said this, I do not believe in the plurality of worlds. In my opinion, what we are seeing is the work, the handiwork of the fallen ones, the rungs on the ladder of disclosure. Something is coming to America. Is America finally ready to take UFO serious? I said 1917, that's Fatima. In 2017, Tucker Carlson had on his show Commander David Fravor. And Tucker started out by saying something like this. UFOs used to be the stuff of tinfoil hat-wearing people and conspiracy theorists, but maybe not so much anymore. Commander David Fravor, former F-18 pilot, joins us tonight, who had an encounter off the coast of California with a tic-tac-shaped object. So I about fall out of my seat. That is Commander David Fravor. When asked by Tucker Carlson, what, in your opinion, was this, Commander David Fravor? And Fravor looks right at the camera and says, something not from this earth. This man is a trained witness. He has nothing to gain. He doesn't have a DVD or book. He hasn't written a book. He's not on a lecture circuit. Nobody knows who this guy is. Essentially, he is an unknown in the realm of media. Now he's not, and everybody knows who this guy is. He's become a household name. But in 2017, no one knew who Commander David Fravor was, including myself. Never heard of this guy. And yet it was available in, I think, 2007, 2008, the very same footage that just kind of lay dormant there. Leslie Keane sort of broke the story, but no one did anything. All of a sudden, 2017, this thing is on Fox News, and then Fravor winds up on 60 Minutes with his wingman, who was a female pilot, and she wouldn't come on the record at first, but she came on 60 Minutes and said, yeah, tic-tac-shaped object. When this thing accelerated from Commander David Fravor, when asked, when it left, how did it leave the scene? Fravor looks right at the camera and said, like a bullet out of a gun. Like a bullet out of a gun when it left the scene. Like 50 miles in just like a blink of an eye. You can't do that. It's faster than the Blackbird, the SR-71. This thing just like, and it's manipulating space-time, matter, and energy. There's no rotor wash, there's no wings, there's no motor. The propulsion system works like this. Here's the craft, okay? Here's the craft, and it's a gravity wave. Bob Lazar theorized this. And it's bending space and time. There is no G-force. That's why it can make a right-angle turn. It doesn't matter, because there is no gravity. It's completely defying. It's a technology that we really don't have our heads around yet. We have no idea how it works. So Pentagon formally releases 3 Navy videos showing unidentified aerial phenomena. So the Pentagon just recently stated that there's nothing to see here. Well, wait a minute. Why did the Pentagon release in 2017 these videos of tic-tac-shaped objects, and then in 2024 backpedal all that with this one guy who you'll see way later on in the presentation, basically saying that nothing to see here, everybody can go home, there's no such thing as UFOs. Nonsense. Luis Elizondo is on Tucker Carlson show, once again. Elizondo states material allegedly stored by Pentagon, quote, is not from this earth. Isotopic ratios, which like I showed you today on our Roswell film, the piece of metal that we discovered in the debris field had isotopic ratios not found on this earth. The closest thing to it was an aluminum alloy that wasn't created till 1953, and it's not an exact match. How does that work? 1947's here, 60 years later, it's 1953. Did they back engineer it? Well, Philip Corso, who deathbed confession once again, stated that that's what his job was, to disseminate at different private industry pieces of the wreckage from Roswell to be back engineered. And he died within a year after that book came out. It was like a deathbed confession thing. So Luis Elizondo is basically stating that the material stored is not from this earth. Once again, Tucker Carlson with Luis Elizondo.
Just a few weeks ago, the Navy admitted for the first time that several UFO videos were real, meaning they show actual area phenomenon that so far the Pentagon cannot explain. Now a UFO investigations group says they have found materials that could potentially be physical evidence of UFOs. Luis Elizondo is Director of Special Programs at the To the Stars Academy of Arts and Science. He also headed the Pentagon's Office for Investigating UFO Incidents, and is the star of the History Channel's Unidentified. He joins us tonight. Luis, thanks so much for coming on. So, thank you for having me. What is this material, and why could it shed light on the question of what UFOs might be?
Sure. Well, our company over the last year and a half has actually obtained quite a bit of material. And let me first preface by saying some of that material, its provenance is frankly hearsay, while the provenance of some of this material has been substantiated. And ultimately, we're in the process of analyzing this material at 3 different levels. We're looking at its physical properties, its chemical, or if you will, molecular properties, and then ultimately its atomic properties. And it's really at that point we'll be able to make some sort of definitive conclusion, keeping in mind that we still have to follow the scientific process and methods, and at the same time have peer review. So it's not just as simple as coming out and saying, hey, look what we found. There's a lot of work that still needs to be done.
I bet that's right, and of course you'll be challenged, as you ought to be challenged, I think. But quickly sum it up for us. Why do you think this material might be connected to UFOs?
Well, without getting into a lot of detail right now, because frankly, it's too speculative for me at this point to say why I think something. At the end of the day, it's going to be what the analysis tells us. And if you have, for example, interesting isotopic ratios that are not normally found, let's say, on this planet, then you have to scratch your head and either A, it's been engineered that way, or B, it came from somewhere else. And ultimately, that's what we're trying to find out.
So these are materials brought to you by people who say this is at the site of a UFO incident or a crash?
In some cases, yes. Again, unfortunately, I can't elaborate too much with some of these individuals. We do have non-disclosure agreements, but it's from various sources, both private and governmental.
It goes without saying, I hope that you'll come back as you get to the bottom of this. We remain skeptical but open-minded on this and all things.
So Pentagon does have mystery metals that came from UFOs, says former government insider. This is Nick Pope. I interviewed Nick Pope. That is in number 9, What is the Truth? And Nick, it was a long interview with him, and we went back and forth. Very interesting. That film has not been released yet, but it'll be released soon. What is the Truth? And we interviewed Nick Pope. So Christopher Mellon, he is former CIA, and he stated on Tucker Carlson's show that they've tested the metal and it's got isotopic ratios not found on this earth. Just like with we tested the metal that we found in the debris field both metallurgists, two different companies that tested the metal. The closest thing is an aluminum alloy of a 7000 series, but it's not an exact match. That's the closest thing. I believe it was back engineered. And that, of course, wasn't invented until 1953. Number 4, Pentagon set to release classified UFO findings, off-world vehicles not made on this earth. So here's something to think about. And I may have mentioned this last year, but there's always new people. Bottom line is this: why Tucker Carlson? Why did Tucker spill the beans with Commander David Fravor in 2017? Why Tucker? Why? Who's Tucker's audience? Conservative Christians, exactly. That's who his audience is, conservative Christians. So they roll this out on Fox to see what the church will do. What does the church do? Absolutely nothing. Snooze, flatlined. My phone doesn't, when Commander David Fravor was on Tucker Carlson, I said, oh my gosh, Peggy, it's happening. Oh my gosh, brace yourself, the phone's gonna ring, here we go. I think I had one email, that was about it, or maybe one phone call. That's it. Flatline, totally flatline, nobody cares. Because we're so desensitized, we've been programmed, just like the program, that clip, hello down there, Super Bowl ad, where the Greys are trying to get our attention and nobody cares. So the woman is watching this UFO clip, then she goes swipe, and there's a cat clawing the toilet paper. Right? This is where we are. This is where we are. And I confess, I watch shorts all the time. I love them. They're just great, especially late at night. Helps me to go to sleep. It's like, that was pretty cool. Next. That was pretty cool. Next. I mean, my attention span's like a 4-year-old. Like a minute and a half, 2 minutes I can do. That's why everybody likes shorts. Who's got time? People send me these hour-long interviews. I go, no, go back, give me the Cliff Notes. I don't have time to do this. I'm writing books, I'm creating films, I do 5 shows a week, I'm on interviews all week long. I can sit for an hour. If I have time, I read books. That's what I do with my time. Number 4, Pentagon set to release classified UFO findings, off-world vehicles not made on this earth. Leaked reports from Pentagon UFO Task Force discuss non-human technology, mysterious objects. Number 5 was the preliminary assessment unidentified aerial phenomena by the United States government intelligence assessment. So this came out as a big deal, 9 pages. 9 pages of information. To give you an idea what the government does, the study on cow flatulence on climate change was like 900 pages. We get 9 pages on the greatest event other than the resurrection in the history of mankind. This is the coming great deception. They know it. They're leaching it out. So we had 9 pages, and that was it. NASA, never a straight answer, is hiring priests to prepare humans for contact with aliens. I'm not making this up. And remember, in our film, in the Watcher series, we interviewed Chris Putnam, who talks about the Vatican posturing themselves. There's several books I have by Catholic theologians, Catholic authors, all talking about, they're here, they're friendly, we're going to baptize them, we'll bring them into the fold, why not life on other planets, blah, 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 blah. I'm going, they're not friendly, they're not our friends, they have a nefarious agenda. When I'm in a UFO conference, which is really rare now, they usually don't invite me anymore because they know where I stand. So I'm not invited. Frankly, I don't care. I really don't. Well, maybe I care a little bit. But the bottom line is, I'll ask, this is my opening salvo to a bunch of New Agers, All right. I want to be taken now, like for sure. Okay. 20-year-olds, unbelievable. Don't get me going. So my first salvo to the New Agers. How many of you out there think it's okay to abduct a 5-year-old boy and implant him? Anybody? Never a hand goes up. Never a hand goes up. Why? Because they all know it's wrong. And then I go, you're proving my point. There's a nefarious agenda here. If you don't think it's okay to kidnap a boy against his parents' will, implant him, and then ship him back to his bedroom, if that's not okay, then what are we all doing here? Why are you guys wearing all these goofy T-shirts? And got your flashlights on. I want to be taken. I want to be taken. No, you don't. These are the fallen angels. What are you, nuts? But they don't want to hear that. They want to hear it's our space brothers. But they know it's wrong to take a 5-year-old and abduct them. No, not a hand ever goes up. So NASA is hiring priests. There's several books, and in my opinion, it's really alarming because the Catholic Church is completely opposite from what I'm saying here. They're ready to embrace this whole thing, you know? I mean, they are. And this is why, in my opinion, cameras off, please. No problem. They're all back here. Marzulli, wake up! Camera's on! Just call my name, Steve. Brett Baer runs bizarre reports suggesting link between UFOs and unexplained pregnancies. Really, when I saw this, I fell out of the chair. I couldn't even believe it. That's our wheelhouse. That's my wheelhouse. I've been banging this drum and there it is. It's on Brett Baer, the most straightest guy on the planet. This guy has, no emotional, I'm Brett Baer, and that's all there is to it, and I'll see you tomorrow. And this little crink of a smile. You know, if he smiles anymore, his face is going to fall off or something. Lord, we lift up Brett and we pray and bless him in Jesus' name. Stolen seed, evil harvest. We've already talked about that. Karen talked about it. Number 8, Tucker Carlson again. Hosts 2 butchers who believe aliens landing in UFOs are mutilating cattle. Thank you for the reality check. There's our film. There's our film. So Tucker is the breeding ground, is the gateway to release all this information. Why? Because his audience is primarily conservative Christians. Let's see what we do. Let's see what the church will do. Flatline. We didn't do anything. Shame on us. 9th rung. Take me to your leader. Congress holds first public hearing on UFOs in 50 years. Skull and bones type vibe. Spy agencies grapple with how much to share at the UFO hearing. Number 10. This is in our book. Karen shared chapter 7. Interference syndrome. Those people who are exposed to UFOs have brain anomalies. We prayed over Karen one day, and all that went away at a conference. We prayed over her, and all that stuff went away. Gary Nolan, I've talked to him on the phone, never met him person to person, but I have spoken to Mr. Nolan, and all this is real. All this is real. Number 11, this is Abby Hornacek, and I've been on the site, I've looked at it. This is a chapter in my book, obviously, and it's all old information. She starts off with Benny and Barney Hill, one of the first abductees recorded. Happened decades ago in the 1950s. It's all old news. For a ufologist, this is UFO 101. This is ufology 101. This is stuff that we've all cut our teeth on decades ago. We all know the stories. We can, count them verbatim. But now, Abby Hornacek, and why Abby Hornacek? What does she know about alien abductions? Was she taken? Why her? Why not Ellie Marzulli talking about alien abductions? I think that would be much better, don't you? So she's got these huge budgets. We make films for about 20 grand. That's it. It's all we can afford. But we've learned it's called guerrilla filmmaking. We know how to get in and get out. We pack light stuff and everything happens in post-production. Our post-production stuff goes on for days and days and days. We fiddle and make it better. Gil Zimmerman and I, and polish and polish and polish. And that's how we make our films. So Tucker Carlson, UFOs files. He realized, Tucker actually said, this is way more important than, whether Trump and Russia collusion. Why aren't we talking more about this instead of goofy Russian collusion? Because at the time, Russian collusion was all you were talking about. And Tucker's going like, this is the most important story ever. And he's right. 12th rung on the ladder. Do you speak extraterrestrial? Science say Earth needs to prepare for an alien encounter now before it's too late. This is the chapter I'm working on. So how do we prepare for an alien encounter? Let me get this straight. We all start wearing tinfoil hats. We go to a mountain with a sign saying, take me? What do we do? Seriously, what do we do? And what does it say? Before it's too late? What does that mean? What do you mean too late? Too late for what? What do you mean too late? Why are you scaring us like this? They all know what's coming, and it is coming, absolutely. We broke the story. We broke the story right there. This is Robert Salas. He was the commander at the Malmstrom Air Force Base. We recorded his story, Richard Shaw and I. It's in our Watchers series. We broke the story before he had his book, before anything. He wept in front of me. He was so traumatized by what had happened. He had an encounter at the Malmstrom Air Force Base. Get this. A huge UFO appeared over the gate. The Malmstrom Air Force Base has 10 intercontinental ballistic missiles, nuclear missiles. The UFO turned all 10 missiles off like that. How is that possible? How is it possible? Because these entities can manipulate space, time, matter, and energy. Years later, Salas was taken. He was abducted. It's all in our film, all on Watchers. We broke the story. 10 years later, now he's on, making the rounds. He's got a book, blah, blah, blah. We broke the story. And we gave Salas permission to come in for post-production to make sure he was being treated fairly. He watched what Richard had edited and said, great, thumbs up, go with it. And I'm going to skip this because of time. 14th rung on the ladder of disclosure. Pentagon reveals mysterious flying orb during UFO Senate hearing. It's old news. It's all old news. For ufologists, we've seen stuff like this for decades. There's the orb. Yawn. I don't mean to sound but it's all old news. 15th rung, intelligence officials say U.S. has retrieved craft of non-human origin. Military whistleblower claims U.S. has UFO retrieval program. There's David Grush. There's Tim Burchett. I believe they have a recovered craft. Witness tells Congress non-biologics were found at alleged UFO crash site. I showed you this last night. I'll run it again because it's really important.
Intelligent extraterrestrials.
Something I can't discuss in a public setting.
Okay, I can't ask when you think this occurred. If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, biologics came with some of these recoveries, yeah.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
So there you go. So what do you do with that? What do you, not me, what do you do with that information? Do you just dismiss it? Is there anything in your grid system that prepares you for it? No, not really. That should shock everyone in the room because they've recovered non-human biologics. So what are we looking at? These are hybrid entities. These are part of the hybrid program from the fallen angels. Either that or they're extraterrestrials from Epsilon Eridani or Zeta Reticuli. The new one is this doublespeak from, what's the guy's name? Yeah, Patrick Ryder, Admiral. And Pentagon finds no evidence of alien technology in UFO report. However, the Pentagon said in 2017, we've got crash craft, blah, blah, blah. So what's the truth? What we're looking at is this. There's this push and pull. There's a section in the Pentagon. There's a group of people who don't want the information out under any circumstances. Then you got the other side of the aisle. You got the David Fravors, the David Grushes, the Luis Elizondos, the Nick Pope, the Christopher Mellon, and a whole host of others that are going, wait, the phenomenon is real. Now it's time to tell everybody what we're looking at. So you've got these two opposing views. This guy, this is back to 1947, putting the kibosh on the Roswell deal. It's exactly what we're looking at. It's the same old nonsense. So UFOs are demonic. This is 18th. This is brand new. Aliens visiting. UFOs are demonic. Aliens visiting from other dimensions, the latest theory. That's the latest theory according to the paper. That's been my theory for the last 30 years. Yawn. It gets annoying after a while. I mean, it really does. Because these journalists just, they don't really do their homework. I'm all over the internet. They know about me, but they won't come and contact me. Why? Because I hold to the biblical prophetic narrative, and they're terrified of that. Well, you can't have this religious stuff, LA. I'm not religious. George Norrie even said that once on his show. He was interviewing me, and he goes, you know, LA, I don't understand. You're not religious at all. And I went, gee, thanks, George. I don't want to be religious. Who wants to be religious? I'm a born-again, spirit-filled Christian. I'm not religious. So, I Am the Sky. We talked about this last night, Anna Paulina Luna, where she says, listen to what David Grush is saying. They are interdimensional entities. This is the thing. So David Grush tells us that we've got bodies, biologics, non-human biologics recovered in the crash sites. Does that get any airplay? No. The media basically buries it. How many people heard that story before you came here? Anybody? Okay, it was maybe a half a dozen people. That's nothing. How many people know about the Mexican mummies? Raise your hand. Look around the room. Okay. Not everybody, but many people. The bottom line is this story here went absolutely viral. It was all over the place. I love Jaime Maussan. I really do. Jaime's a great guy. We interviewed Jaime Maussan for our Watchers series, Richard Shaw and I. We flew to Mexico. Jaime gave us all sorts of incredible footage. But Jaime, where are the x-rays? Give me the x-rays. I got a radiologist over in England who can take one look at these things and in 15 minutes tell you whether it's a fake or not. He wouldn't give me the x-rays. The x-rays he did show, I sent to the radiologist. He took one look at him. He said, it's a construct. It's a fake. It's a fake. That's what it is. There's Jaime. It's a big reveal, very dramatic. Da-da-da-da-da. And they're a total fake. This is real. This is Catalina, Iowa, and I talked about this last year. That's a 9-foot giant. I found the picture. That's Ralph Glidden, circa 1919, 1921, Catalina Island, right off the coast of Los Angeles. That is a Nephilim. Look at the size of the skull. That's a 9-footer. This is a fake. This is the ferry. It was in Jaime's office, Jaime Maussan's office in Mexico. Jaime, we met Jaime in his office. He goes, I got to do a show. I'll be down in an hour. Okay. Meanwhile, look at this. And he reaches up in the cupboard, takes this thing, slams it down. And Richard and I are just going, you've got to be kidding me. I had the x-rays. I took the x-rays to several veterinarians in Malibu and other places. They all thought it was real. No one picked up on it, okay? Till we got the ferry. Once we got the ferry out of Mexico and brought it to California, now we had it. Now we could do our own x-rays and look at it. So we did. And that's one of the veterinarians taking it out of the formaldehyde. And we start looking at it, and you'll notice that it's on a plastic tray, and then you'll notice this. And so after about an hour, I reach down and I go, hey doc, what's this? What's this right here? And I pick it up with the forceps, and he looks at it and he goes, that looks like a piece of wood with epoxy on the end of it. And now we were off to the races. And we went back to the x-ray machine. I mean, it's a construct. A taxidermy did this. And what we didn't understand was when we x-rayed it, there's the piece of wood that you can't see because it doesn't fluoresce because it's wood, not bone. See these? This is the bird shot that this thing was shot down with. And that's why we thought it was real. One of the reasons. It fooled 4 veterinarians in California until we had that. Until we saw that, it fooled everybody. Then we went back to the x-rays and we went, oh, look at this. There's the piece right there. And oh, look at this, it's not fluorescing. And then we took it to the Natural History Museum and we realized that it was a taxidermist. Jaime paid $20,000 for it. When we told him it was fake, he didn't believe us. He was so angry, and who wouldn't be? Whoever did it was a master at it. So we know something is going on. This story here should have been blasted all over the media. It was buried. Who's got the power to bury stories? You tell me.
Congressional correspondent Chad Pergram reports.
Is this real? I talked about this last night, remember? So, this guy barefoot. There's his new best friend. He's got a bum knee here, a little cane. That's AI. That's AI. And this is where we are. We are now living in a world that you can't tell what's real or what isn't. And you get stories, yeah, we found this picture in my grandfather's attic in a trunk, right? That's been hidden away for 80 years. And I think that's my grandfather there, yeah. And there's Bigfoot. What is the top rung? Nobody knows.
I am inclined to believe that it's of an extraterrestrial origin. But because of the ridicule which was heaped upon him and the great amount of censure, he considered it much better for the safety of his own skin and the safety of his own
from our Watcher series
to remain incognito.
That's real. That's Jaime Maussan. That's real.
Something is happening. More
That's
and more
the flotilla
people
over
around the globe
Mexico.
are realizing that UFO sightings are real and they're not
That's
going
right
away.
off Pacific Coast Highway in
We'll take you to one of
Malibu.
the world's leading experts in UFOs, Jaime Maussan. We traveled to Mexico and interviewed Jaime and his staff. We saw unbelievable things.
Look at
We'll
that.
take you inside and show you that incredible footage. Jose Escamillo will show us what might be hidden structures on the lunar surface. We'll take you into the lab with Dr. Roger Lear and Stephen Colbert and examine evidence, physical evidence of actual UFO encounters.
That was the implant right there that we
We'll also
took
show
out.
you samples that we took from
The
a
fingerprints
sphere
fluoresced.
that supposedly fell from space and crashed into a farmer's field. At the Citizens
There we are in
Hearing on
Seal
UFO
Lab.
Disclosure in Washington, D.C.
That's from the 50s.
Got to hear unbelievable things that are actually happening in the sky.
That's Robert Salas.
UFOs are as real as the airplanes flying overhead.
We have a space force. It's in existence.
We sat down with Stephen Bassett, the organizer of the conference, and discussed it with him.
There's an extraterrestrial presence from elsewhere.
That's Popocatépetl. That's the Kumburgaz
We
UFO.
also talked to Chris Putman, co-author of the best-selling book, Exo Vaticana. We sat down with Chris and asked him to explain what the Vatican relationship is with the extraterrestrial phenomena.
The data says that more people believe in ET than believe in God.
We also interviewed Dr. David Jacobs, who took us inside the alien abduction phenomenon. Dr. Jacobs also weighs in on what he thinks the endgame might be to the alien abduction phenomenon.
Walking amongst us. That's Watcher 7. So there we go. UFOs are real, burgeoning, not going away. That's the Kumburgaz UFO. I've already showed you that. That's Dr. Heller or Walter Heller going, talking about UFOs are as real as the airplanes overhead. We've already talked about Robert Salas. He was the commander. Years later, he was abducted, Malmstrom Air Force Base. And this is what we hear from the abductees all the time. They're levitated off the bed. They go to the window and they go, are they going to open the window? They never open the window. They go through the window. When Jesus is in his glorified body, what does he do when he appears to the disciples? He comes through the wall. This is why, where are we? What is this really, right? And of course, when he's up on the ship, they promptly take that needle and insert it in his manhood. Thank you so much. This is the implant right there. We talked about this a little bit earlier. You can see where the arrow is. We took the implant out of Emil. Emil was abducted when he was 5 years old. He was implanted. We're the only Christian team on the planet ever to do this. We took the implant out of Emil. When we went to take the implant out, even though we had done x-rays and CAT scans and we knew exactly where it was with the ultrasound machine, we couldn't find it. One prayer in that room changed everything. Because the Holy Spirit said, LA, you need to take authority over this and do it now. And my prayer was very simple. Lord, if there are forces which are cloaking this device, I pray that you would break their power and do it soon. And suddenly, the implant appeared like this on the screen. There it is, right there. That's the implant. Oh, I've got it the wrong way, thank you. That's the implant, that's the shadow. That's the piece of, and Dr. Matriciana was going like, looking at the ultrasound wand, tapping it, putting it back on Emil's leg, picking it up again, tapping it. Couldn't understand why after an hour and 20 minutes, we couldn't find it. And all of a sudden, one prayer, and we find the thing. The next 2 days later, we're at SEAL Lab. Dr. Roger Lear is there. Last time I ever saw him alive, he died of a massive heart attack a couple of months after that. Richard and I were filming in Peru during that interim. I go, Roger, can I speak to you privately? He goes, sure. I take him outside in the hallway. I say, I hope you realize what happened in that operating theater on Saturday. He looks at me with his eyes got really big and said, LA, I now believe there's a supernatural component to the UFO phenomenon, and I'm going to tell Whitley Strieber about it. Whether that ever happened, we have no idea. But we made a believer out of Roger. He knew something was going on. Because a power greater than the forces that were cloaking that device showed up. Not me, but him. Did he send angels? I don't know what he did. But all of a sudden, there was the implant on the screen. And everybody was taken aback. So here we are, making the incision in Emil's leg. We open it up. There's your first shot of the implant right there. See it? The forceps are about to pick it up. And that's Dr. Roger Lear. And that's what the implant looks like. Whoever is doing this, that's yours truly and Dr. Roger Lear and I in the operating theater, whoever is doing this has spent an inordinate amount of time and resources and energy because that implant was about 40 years old that we took out. That was the last implant Roger took out, number 17. Number 16 was of some sort of metallic alloy, which they didn't know what it was. They couldn't cut it open with a diamond blade saw. They had to take the implant into a laboratory and open it up with a laser. Inside, they found double-walled nanotubes at the cellular molecular level. How is it possible? How is that possible? There's an evolution of these things. This is conjecture. This is conjecture, but it's based on decades of research always from a biblical prophetic narrative. I believe that these implants that we are looking at right here, this is the prototype of the mark of the beast. When they show up, and they will show up, they will say that we created all life on this planet. Oh, and by the way, we have an upgrade for you guys, a DNA upgrade. All you need to do is take this little DNA upgrade at the back of your hand or on your forehead, and it will extend your lifespan 300 years, disease-free, minimum 300 years. Oh, and you need to do this anyway because it'll have all your information, all your banking stuff, everything. You'll be able to buy, sell, or trade. Now, that's conjecture on my part. But there's an evolution of the implants, so something's going on with that. Grain of rice. Here's something else. I've spoken to 2 different abductees, okay? Both of them, one was a male, one was a female, took a razor knife and cut the implant in their forehead out. They knew they were abducted, they knew they were implanted, they could feel it, and they both had it up to here, and they went into the bathroom, same thing, and they took they just cut it open and got the implant out. In Steven Spielberg's movie Taken, there's a scene towards the end of the movie where all these abductees are there, and all of a sudden, the implants all come out of their noses all at the same time. Most often, it's in the back of the hand, the forehead. In Emil's, it was the knee. Could this be, conjecture, the prototype for the mark of the beast? It certainly could be. So in Fatima in 1917, you had 3 kids. They were illiterate. They couldn't read or write. You have Lucia, Francisco, and Jacinta, the little one with her hand on her hip, scowling at the camera. Lucy is 11, Francisco is 10, Jacinta is 7. Young, illiterate children. They have an encounter with this entity who tells them, I'm from the sky. She never says she's Mary. Never says that. Who are you? I'm from the sky. That's all she said. So this whole thing has been dressed up in Catholic clothes. It's the Virgin Mary, the secrets of Fatima, all this crazy stuff. Enter Jose Machado. He's a professor of semiotics. What does that mean? He looks at film and pictures and ascertains whether they're real, they're not, how they were done, projection. This is what he does. He analyzes this stuff. He gets access to Fatima. He's in the sanctuary. There's the pillar. Okay, there's the steeple. That's where the sanctuary is. Here he is in the archives at Fatima with the original glass plates taken by Joshua Benoglio in 1917, in October of 1917, where there's 70,000 people standing in a field waiting to see the miracle that's going to take place, or the sign that's going to take place. 70,000 people. Why am I showing you this? Because of this. The sun, as I said yesterday, it had been raining all day. Finally, the sun came out, but then a cloud moved in front of the sun. Then this object came out of the cloud and began to spin like this, and then it fell to earth and went back up into the cloud. Went back up into the cloud 3 different times. So, there's the shot from Joshua Benoglio right there. You can see what looks like smoke coming up. It makes a right angle turn. What's this right here? And this is what it looks like right there. This is, before we cleaned it up, we just took the unnecessary dirt out of the picture. What's that look like to you? If you were standing in the field and you looked up and you saw that, what would you say? What would you say? You'd say it was a UFO. The eyewitnesses in Fatima in 1917 are in the field, and they tell their testimony to Father Fierro, the parish church. He's writing their testimony in longhand, writing everything down, taking copious notes. Witness after witness after witness looks up and says this: I saw a dull silver disc. I rest my case. What is a dull silver disc in 1917? Because there's no verbiage for flying saucer or UFO. A dull silver disc is a UFO, and that's what they saw. And there's the picture, and we've got proof of it. They would not publish this picture in Portugal. They would not publish it in Portugal. We published it, and it's in our film. Okay, the punchline. Russia deploys intercontinental ballistic missile for combat duty. And we've already seen that, so we don't need to see it again. If you have a nuclear device, I said this last night, I'm going to say it again. This is the punchline. The greatest collective fear in the history of the world that humanity experiences together. You have a nuclear device going out. The grid is back. They will light that grid up. That's all we will see constantly. We go up, they come down. We go up, they show up. This is what I think happens. We go up, they come down. We go up, they show up. You have a nuclear device that goes off. The rapture of the church begins to happen. We go up. Remember, Elijah the prophet goes up. Elisha sees him go up. When Jesus after his resurrection, he's on and he speaks to everybody and all this stuff. When he goes up into where? Into the cloud. How many people see him? Well, the disciples are there. Mary's there. Probably Mary Magdalene, and who knows how many others. The Bible was silent on that. I believe it's more than the 11. I believe it's a throng of people, a bunch of people that are standing there. Does he wave one last time? I don't know. But he goes up, and where does he go? Into the cloud. I'm not making this up. The two witnesses lay on the streets of Jerusalem. They are killed, their bodies, everyone rejoices. They give gifts because the witnesses are dead. Thank God they're gone, hallelujah. Well, they won't say that. They'll say some other nasty things. After 3 days, they're resurrected. The entire world watches them do what? Go up into the clouds. For the Lord himself will descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel and the trump of God. The dead in Christ will rise first. Then we who are alive and remain will be caught up, harpazo, together with those in the clouds to greet the Lord in the air, and so shall we evermore be with the Lord. Harpazo, caught up, that's where we get rapture from. We're caught up where? We're caught up where? In the what? In the what? Let me hear it. In the what? Thank you. We're caught up in the clouds. Jesus is caught up where? In the clouds. Say it again. Okay. The two witnesses are caught up where? Do clouds have any significance in our future? Yes. You better believe it. We disappear in the clouds, and that's what comes down. That's what comes down. And people will believe the great deception. People will believe the lie that we were taken aboard these ships because we weren't ready for the cosmic change. That's what they'll say. Now, I could be wrong. This is conjecture. I'm not saying this will happen, but this is what I think will happen. I want to thank Milo Gonzalez and Jeff Van Hatten for putting part of that together. They were the ones who said the clouds. Jesus goes up in the cloud. Two witnesses go up in the cloud. Elisha goes up and Elisha sees them. We go up, they come down. We go up, they show up. The world will see out of that cloud UFOs. And this is why I showed you that, hey down there, the Super Bowl ad. And all of a sudden there's like UFOs everywhere over the sky, right? In all sorts of, all the cities over, that's the whole point of that commercial. There's just not one UFO. They're everywhere, all over the globe. I don't think the church is here for that. I think we're long gone. I think we're out of here. So, when they do show up, they will tell us that ET seeded all life on this planet, genetically manipulated early man. The Darwinists will just love that. We started the Earth's earliest civilizations, the world's religions. Now at this critical juncture, we, ET, supposedly ET, are back to usher mankind into a golden age, but there is no golden age. This is the coming great deception. God sends them what? Strong delusion. Why? Because they did not believe the truth. What is the truth? That Jesus spoke everything into existence. What is the lie? What is the strong delusion? That's the strong delusion. These are not extraterrestrials from some faraway distant planet. These are nefarious interdimensional entities, i.e. fallen angels and their cohorts. I heard about the number 6. We took those fundamentalists off the planet 50 years ago when I was in the New Age, as I said last night. The seed of the dragon will be at war with the seed of the woman, Genesis 3:15. As it was in the days of Noah, so it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. Their seed will mingle with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave to one another, Daniel 2:43. How do we finish? Warn people about the coming great deception. Tell your kids and your grandkids. I showed you the Taylor Swift thing last night. If that doesn't rock your boat, I don't know what will. And your kids probably know all the lyrics to it. Your grandkids know all the lyrics to it. We have to warn people, our loved ones. That's why we have the resources. If you don't want to buy anything, that's fine. But that's what the resources are. You can show people the videos. You can show them all the work that we've done and warn people, warn your loved ones. Invite everybody over, pop the popcorn, you know, get the lemonade out or whatever. Hey, you guys want to watch this? It's on UFOs. What? But your kids and your grandkids need to be warned. They're already drinking the Kool-Aid. We've already lost a generation. There's a few young people here, but not many. But thanks for showing up. Really appreciate it. Because, you know, if the Lord does tarry, we got to hand the torch off to them. And they're not prepared because we haven't done our job. I say we collectively, myself included. We live in unprecedented times, folks. Warn your kids. Tell your pastor to start addressing the UFO phenomenon. This pastor's wide awake. That's why I've been here twice in a year. Hallelujah. He loves it, and I love him. This place is amazing. It's just an amazing place. Blessed. Blessed beyond measure. Anyway, there he is. That's the shroud. Some guy wrote me this nasty email this morning. Oh, the shroud's a fake. It's like, okay, I get it. Calm down. Take a deep breath. Go to Shroud, www.shroud.com. Spend an hour there and then get back to me. Don't throw Bible verses at me. Just spend an hour on the shroud. This is the most studied artifact in the history of the world, and I'm not making that up. It is. It is the most studied artifact. It is the face of Jesus. It's the real deal. I call it God's calling card. They have no idea how this thing was made. There's a particle physicist who we interviewed in our Watcher series, Secrets of a Supernatural, and in that, Dame Isabel Pixick, she's no longer here, she's with the Lord, talks about that the body was levitated off the slab. It was a singularity. Time, space stopped as we know it. The shroud was pulled taut. The body evaporated into a gazillion points of light, which left that impression on the shroud. When Secunda Pia took the picture of the shroud, he had no idea what it was. He knew that's what he saw. When he went to develop, this is the glass plates, that's the negative of the shroud, which is a positive image. You understand what I'm saying? So you take a glass plate and you go like this in the fluid, and what should come up would be a negative image. But that's not what Secunda Pia saw. He saw the positive image. That's the face of Jesus right there, laying in the tomb on the Shroud of Turin. He's coming back. He's got to come back soon, because if he doesn't come back soon, there's not going to be much left to come back to. So I'm going to take some questions. We have 19 minutes left. Are hybrids mating to potentially create the Antichrist? I don't know about that. Hybrids, look, the Antichrist will be the son of perdition. The Antichrist will be the seed of the dragon himself. Isn't it funny how Hollywood already comes out with that, Rosemary's Baby? Need I say more? If demons and fallen angels are different, are aliens demons in an avatar suit, or are they fallen angels? Fallen angels are fallen angels. They don't need an avatar body to inhabit. Fallen angels can just go poof, we're here. Demons are the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim that perished in the flood. Karen talked about that. So they need a suit. They need a biological avatar to inhabit. That's what they are. Do you believe Nephilim built the pyramids? That's a really good question. Whoever did it was not a human being. And Zawi Hawass gets up there and goes, pyramid, pyramid, pyramid. I scream, ask my wife. I'm yelling at the TV. You know, like my veins in my forehead are bulging out. I get so angry because he's just making this stuff up. So let me get this straight. Zawi Hawass goes down. He's nothing but a glorified grave robber, but Ralph Glidden is called, a hideous grave robber. But Zawi is like, a great scholar. He's an Egyptologist. Oh my gosh, he's exhuming all these old pharaoh bones and all this other stuff. But Ralph Glidden does exactly the same thing with the Nephilim giant. He's called a grave robber. How does that work? Aren't they doing exactly the same thing? Watch Zawi Hawass. He has no idea who built the pyramid. Zawi, take the L.A. Marzulli challenge. I dare you to. Okay. So above the king's chamber, you've got granite blocks that are the size of railroad cars that come from Aswan 500 miles away. How was that moved, Zawi? Just show me. How did they cut the granite and move the granite blocks 2/3 of the way up the Great Pyramid over the king's chamber? Just show me that. Just show me how they did it. You have no idea. I'm still weighing on it. I think that the Nephilim did not build the pyramids. That's my take. But I'm still, there's all this mathematical precision, all this crazy stuff we don't have time to get into. But on the other hand, maybe the Nephilim did build the pyramids with the fallen angels, right? I don't know. I'm still, I just don't know. I can go either way with it. Whatever it is, it's beyond the capacity of human beings to build that. 4,000 years ago, I think it's pre-flood. I think it's more like 10,000 years ago, but that's what I think. Could a giant Nephilim become the father to children with a human wife? Good question. I know where this is going, and I would say that as far as we know, the answer to that would be no. But the hybrids that are walking around now can breed. The hybrids or call them hybrids, as Dr. David Jacobs call them. There certainly is a possibility there. Questions on adrenochrome. How extensive are the underground adrenochrome factories in the USA? I have no idea, no answer to that. Nobody knows. That's all doublespeak. It's all QAnon stuff. And if you follow QAnon, think again. Because he's been up there doing all this nonsense for 4 years. Nothing, but nothing ever happens. It's a psyop. It's an absolute psyop. That's what it is. And do you really think that if anybody knows anything, they're going to tip their hand like that? Why would anybody do that? Do you have examples of good, helpful aliens? Yeah, all the time. Do some exist to grow closer to the Lord? No. In your opinion, have all channelers been led astray? Let's walk through that. There are no good, helpful aliens. There are good angels. We have stories about that in our Supernatural Confrontation show all the time. Do some exist to grow closer to the Lord? Good angels will, but not aliens, no. Have all channelers been led astray? Edgar Casey, Esther Hicks, absolutely. When you channel, you're opening yourself up to a demonic entity. Why would you do that in the first place? In fact, we're told in the Torah not to do that, specifically because why? You pop up into the second heaven. Who's in the second heaven? The fallen angels. You can't trust anything that's going on there. Anything. When you take ayahuasca, you pop into where? The lower astral, the second heaven. Who's there? Everybody else that you don't want to see. They're all there. That's why we're told not to do it. We're not equipped to deal with these entities. We're human beings. When an angel shows up, what do? We do a face plant. When the angel shows up with Daniel, it says, I fell on my face. In the modern vernacular, that is a face plant. End of story. That's what it is. It's a face plant. Daniel does a face plant. We're not equipped to deal with this stuff. That's why we're told no necromancy, no Ouija boards, no seances, no ayahuasca, no meditation like Stephen Greer goes, let's meditate and bring them all in. Stephen, trust me, I love you, bro, but you're completely deceived in my opinion. Okay. Do you think angels of the Lord's side have similar vehicles as the ones on Satan's side? Yes, I do. Watch Gary Stearman talk about that craft. Look, we have like I said earlier, we have a very truncated view of the supernatural in Christendom. And I gave you the supernatural technology in the Bible. The two cherubim are here, the sword, the flaming sword which turns every which way. What's that? That's technology, because the cherubim aren't turning the sword. The flaming sword is its own entity, turning every which way. It's a lightsaber. Where do you think he got it from? Where do you think Star Wars got it from? The Bible. Guaranteed. It's a lightsaber. So, do you feel demons can be responsible for bad dreams? Absolutely, nightmares. Do you feel demons, fallen angels, can be responsible for bad dreams, nightmares? Absolutely. The enemy... Look, when we're in a prone position, when we're asleep, we're utterly helpless, right? How many of you had not had a nightmare? Everybody in this room has had a nightmare. Why is that? Why do we have nightmares? I don't get them often, but I do get them from time to time. And Peggy knows, she wakes me up, and we pray. Enemy hates us, hates you, hates me. Comes to rob, kill, and destroy. That's all he's good for. Hates us. Hates us. So, what's our weapon? Word of God. That's it. Wash your mind. Wash our minds with the word, because everything changes. If the Greys are indeed avatars, what is the significance of having 6 fingers? The Greys, some of them have 6 fingers, some of them don't. I get that. The enemy is always playing around trying to create an avatar, a hybrid in his own image. You can't do it. That's why when we look at the conquest of Canaan, the Zamzamim, the Emims, the Nephilim, the Rephaim, the Anakim, all these different Nephilim tribes are in the Levant, are in the Promised Land. There's all this genetic tampering going on, genetic tampering going on. He's always trying to make something, but he never gets to it. And by the way, they're soulless. If the gray aliens' avatar suits for demons, what are insectoids, tall Nordics, and reptilian entities used for? Okay, the insectoids may be a type of what a fallen angel looks like. It may be a fallen angel that's shape-shifting to look like that. The reptilians, I think, this is conjecture. You know, like I said, tongue-in-cheek. When was the last time anybody had an interview with a fallen angel? I'm here with Beelzebub, and thank you, Beelzebub, for taking the time to come on the record. I was wondering, sir, what are the reptilians? So, you know, we don't know. But I believe that the reptilians are what they really look like. That's their true nature. The tall whites, again, do they shapeshift? Remember, Satan can appear as an angel of light. So they can change their appearance. They can be male, female. They can appear as anything that they want to appear as. Anything. This is what we're up against. Do these aliens have any connection to the incubus demon? Yes and no. It's all part of Hell's Kitchen, isn't it? Incubus, succubus. A lot of people have dreams at night where they're raped by some sort of an entity. They wake up, they feel unclean, male and female. They know something horrible has happened. That's an incubus, succubus. That's all part of Hell's Kitchen. Are cow mutilations happening worldwide? Not worldwide, but in certain places. But yes, they are. Yes, they are. A lot in the Southwest, the Midwest, and Texas, other places. Last year, you made a comment that you would share who you thought the Antichrist might be. Okay, we're not going to go there, are we? Do you think the origins of V2K technology is Nephilim technology? That's hard to say. I don't know. Why would they take cow tongues, genetic material to create an artificial womb? Do you think the Apophis is wormwood from Revelation? Why name it Apophis, which means death and destruction? Really good question. Time will tell. Keep an eye on it. Tom Horn was brilliant. So we just got to keep an eye on it and see what it does. What are your thoughts on Tiffany Gomez seeing a shapeshifter on the airplane last year? We don't know what she saw. I have no idea what she saw. And I don't think she's a straight shooter. She's back on the internet with some other nonsense. Something freaked her out, that's for sure. What was it? Don't know. Where might discs be manufactured? Deep underground bases, underwater, in another dimension. Remember, these craft, I believe, the ability to go in and out of dimensions. They are interdimensional craft. They can access this. That's why you see gateways and portals opening up and entities and things coming through them. Well, I go through the trouble of making hybrids instead of corrupting souls. They do both, don't they? They do corrupt souls. You think Taylor Swift, with all due respect to Taylor Swift, is her soul corrupt? You tell me. Watch that film, watch that clip, bad. And you tell me what's happened to Taylor Swift. Is she the same woman that we saw on, what is it, America, not Got Talent, but what is it? Thank you, American Idol. No, she's not. She's completely different than what she was in American Idol. So something's going on there. Do you believe the government is collaborating with these alien entities? Absolutely. Absolutely, all day long. They've been doing it since the 40s. How do hybrids enter our society and what age? Oh, as if I know that, right? It's 12, yeah, that's the thing. These would be people without parents, correct? I have no idea how they enter. We've had stories of people where a family moves into the neighborhood, and this is a true story. So this woman is kind of like a Mrs. Kravitz, and she this weird family moves in next door, and she goes over, and she notices there's no curtains, there's towels and bedspreads over the windows. So she goes with some lasagna or a cake or macaroni and cheese, who knows what, and knocks on the door, and the woman answers the door. But when she answers the door, just like our friend at the fast food restaurant, the face changes, she shapeshifts. And they look at each other, and the hybrid knows that she's outed, slams the door shut, woman's freaked out, drops the spaghetti and meatballs and runs back to her house, or whatever she's bringing, right? She tells me about the story. Next day, less than 24 hours later, they moved out in the middle of the night and were gone. Another story. This couple, she wrote me this story. This couple are at a fair in Iowa State Fair. And there's this man and two like teenagers, maybe 18 to 20 years old, somewhere in that range. And they look like brother and sister, and they're dressed really weird. They're dressed kind of identical, and they're kind of walking in tandem. They're just weird, okay? And, you know, they're looking at them, and they're not sure what's going on. And this brother and sister, they go up to the carnival. It's a Ferris wheel, and they open the gate to get on the Ferris wheel. Well, the carny guy goes, hey, what are you kids doing? You can't come in here. The Ferris wheel's going. They're like doing things that are completely weird. So the Ferris wheel stops. Their kids come off the Ferris wheel, and she's walking with her kids, probably in between her and her husband's over there. They're walking like this. So she turns back to look at the kids. She told me on the record that when she looked back at them, their necks were elongated, stretched like this, and they were leering at her. And when she got home, she told, after they put the kids to bed, she said, what about those two kids that we saw at the Iowa Fair? And her husband, you know, looked at her and said, whatever they weren't human. They're walking amongst us. I don't get a lot of these, but I get some of these things. People have encounters like this, like the one, the entity that came all of a sudden, the game trail takes the picture, and the entity is looking right at the game trail. It knows it's being taken. And it's kind of, I can't say glaring, but it's no, you know, there's no emotion there. That's, you know, what is that? A fallen angel? Is it a hybrid entity? I don't know. Anyway, guys, we are finished. Thank you for coming. Thank you. Okay. So before, I will be back at the book table. Just give me a minute or two to you know, hit the head on the way out. But too much information, LA. But let me just say this. We've not been given a spirit of fear, but a power, love, and a sound mind. We've went through a lot of information here from last night all day today, but we've not been given a spirit of fear. Okay, so we can't walk in fear. We need to wash ourselves in the Word on a daily basis. We need to understand that the times we live in are very unprecedented, very tumultuous, but yet, in spite of all that, we have the victory. And our hope is not in E.T. or not in these nefarious entities. Our hope is in Jesus Christ and his return. And as crazy as that sounds to a non-believer, hold on to that like it's a lifesaver, because it is. It's that lifesaver that you're in turbulent water and somebody throws you that life buoy, that lifesaver. Hang on to that. Hold on to that. Never let anybody steal that hope that, you know, we're not appointed to wrath. We're not appointed to wrath. It's the time of Jacob's trouble, not Fred's, and we're all Fred's. We're not going through the tribulation. I think he's coming back soon. Pentecost is coming up. Gary Stearman believes that we go up on a Pentecost. That's a theory. He's not, you know, dogmatic about it, but there's a real possibility. So let me pray for you. Father, we lift up these folks. We thank you for, and the folks watching, we just thank you for their faithfulness, and we just pray, Lord, that you would watch over them, that you would protect them. And Lord, I just ask that your spirit would be poured out upon your people. Just bless them, Lord, in ways that are just unprecedented. Give them favor. Give them dreams. Heal them up inside. Make them warriors. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May he shine his face upon you and give you peace. Thank you, guys. Many blessings.